Yeah, so you only work with a small selected group of about 15 YouTubers. Tell us a little bit about what exactly you do for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously changes depending on who the client is, but I mean, probably the best example is Mr. Beast, who I personally manage still to this day and have managed since 2018. And so when I met Jimmy, he had a couple employees. It was Chris and an editor, but at that time was still pretty early. He had 2 million subscribers. He knew what he wanted to do. It's just he needed help. He needed someone to come in and help the company make money. His videos weren't really monetizing very early on because they, for the most part, were under 10 minutes, which means you can't run a mid-roll. It's just like a pre-roll ad then, which is like from a CPM basis is pretty small. And so someone had to come in and bring brand sponsorships in. Yeah. He needed to completely rehaul how he was thinking about merchandise and his apparel business. And so that's something that we had to dig into. He also really needed help hiring and identifying like what a in-house production team for a YouTube creator looks like. And so that's something that him and I had a lot of conversations early on in 2018, 2019 about like, what is this team? What are the different pillars? Who do we all need to be successful? How do I increase my upload volume? And so for us, like we really play that, like what we like to say is an outsourced COO role. And for Jimmy, I mean, we're so far in the weeds. We're doing all his like budgeting. We know how much he spends per video. So it's like we're pretty far in the weeds there. And then we're also like we're partners with him in a lot of these businesses. Yeah. People have probably heard of Mr. Beast Burger. We just expanded into the UK. We're working across other parts of Europe right now. Really? We're launching another company here shortly that we'll announce. We obviously have a software company that did Finger on the App 1, Finger on the App 2. And so we're also business partners with most of our clients in their other endeavors, and that's the role we really like to play.
Yeah. Can you share how many businesses you co-own nowadays, and how do you manage so many businesses? Do you do everything yourself, or you have a manager for each business?
Yeah, well, I mean, it just to back up a little bit to talk about like how's Night Media structured. So we really look at Night Media as a stool with having 3 legs, and we think that over the next decade, this is what most digital talent management companies, at least successful talent management companies, should look like. And so you have the first leg of the stool, which is your 360 management department. For us, it's 360 management focused on the number 1 or number 2 creators in each content vertical. The second leg of that stool is like a pseudo venture studio that has a separate team that's not on the management team. So our employees in the management side of the business are mostly talent managers, coordinators, and then a few other people. Our venture studio team is very operationally heavy. We have a lot of product people hired into that company, and that executes some of these other businesses that you've seen, like Finger on the App and Mr. Beast Burger. And then we have a third leg of the stool, which is new, but it's a venture capital firm. It's a $20 million fund that invests in emerging software, creator economy, and then a little bit of gaming. Yeah. And so that's really how Night Media is structured. And then there's employees in each of those 3 buckets, right? And so I oversee, all 3 of them at a very high level. I still manage Jimmy on a day-to-day basis, but I'm also like a GP in the venture fund. And I at a high level, see most of the venture studio deals that we're partners in with our creators.
Okay, so one of those divisions is, basically a division that helps those creators build their own companies off YouTube.
Yeah, it helps them build businesses where they can really leverage the distribution that they've created, right? And it takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of like time and effort to figure out like what is that business, or what are those businesses. And then where we've really focused with our venture studio is we're really good at getting a company from 0 to 1. And now where we're getting with most of these businesses now is we need to bring in a CEO, like an executive team plus a CEO to get it from 1 to 10, right? And that's like where a lot of our focus is right now, is just hiring really good teams to execute.
So you launch a company like Mr. Beast Burger, and now it's time to hire a CEO, maybe an operational manager who's going to grow the thing from 1 to 10.
Exactly. Yeah. Social media team, product managers, logistics. Like it's, we're in the weeds on hiring a bunch of different people right now across those businesses.
Yeah. Can you give a few more examples of companies that you help your clients build, or maybe companies that other creators in the industry build? Because this is something new, right? Like 5 years ago, creators were not, maybe they were selling some online info products, but they were not starting their own fast food chain or their own, maybe an app. They were not doing all those crazy things yet, right? So can you maybe give a few examples just for our audience to get some inspiration and to see what's possible in the industry?
Well, I think it's a little bit of barrier to entry too is a lot higher than say like launch an apparel or merchandise business for a creator is pretty easy, right? There's a lot of companies that support that, from Fanjoy to Teesprings, like you name it, I can point you in the right direction. Starting a software company or even a CPG business is a lot more complex than just like, hey, I want to put this logo on this hoodie and t-shirt. And so I think that's why we haven't seen a lot of creators really step into this realm, because you really need, team and help and everything else to execute on some of this. I think some good examples, at least that I've seen in the last like 6 to 8 months, I think Emma Chamberlain Coffee is probably a good example of something that she launched with, I think she launched it with UTA. I'm not 100% sure, but it's her coffee line. I'm not 100% sure if they have retail exposure yet, but that's one that kind of stands out to me. I know the Ace family has like a beverage company, like a juice company that has a little bit of retail exposure. So we're seeing CPG a little more now. Software is the one that will probably be the most interesting over the next 5 years, but again, has the highest barrier of entry and usually is the most it has the highest cost to get into that. Yeah. And so, for us, like we're going to do some software businesses with our creators, but those are big swings. And those require a lot of work and, engineers and like competent teams. And so we're treading a little lightly on those businesses right now. But there is some creator-led businesses, like I just said, 2 of them that I think are doing incredibly well that, hopefully like Emma Chamberlain's coffee brand, will be in Walmart and Target or Whole Foods or whatever the plan is for that. But I think we haven't even rounded first base. Like we're still in the first inning.
Yeah. What are some examples of software? I mean, you guys have launched Finger on the app, right? Basically an application where I think 1 million people played it simultaneously, right? Where they had to hold a finger on the phone and the last one to leave it off the phone won. Or like the last, I think in the end you gave the last 8 people that last like 20K each, or what was that?
Yeah, so we did 2 versions. So the second version happened about 2 months ago. We had 1.6 million players that started to play the game. I can't remember how many hours it lasted. I think it was right around like 55 hours. The winner got $100,000 and we paid out, second, third, fourth, fifth, anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. Jimmy and I were kind of making phone calls, negotiating with people to take their finger off their phone. That's like a decent example. That company was created about 6 months ago. It's called Beast Games. And it's really just Jimmy wants a gaming company that is making, really the thesis of the company at the current moment is to make games that engage his whole community, similar to what he does on his YouTube channel, where he does like last to leave circle or last to take handoff car. We want to be able to do things like that for his whole community. Now they're incredibly complex to build. And they take a lot more time than just like launching a hoodie or a hat. And so it's just taken time for us to find the right team, the right software developers. But that's probably a good example. I'm trying to think of something else in the software space that a creator has done, but nothing's like coming top of mind.